Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's edition of the Justice Review. We like to take our favorite shows, whether it be from the realm of superhero, supernatural, whatever they may be, break them down and give you guys that nit and that grit. And if we like it, you know we love it. If we hate it, damn it, you're going to hear about it. And today we're going to keep that roller coaster rolling with the feature of the month, which is The Mandalorian, the Star Wars sensation that has been taking over the scene. And
I wouldn't call it off that.
well, the internet says differently. The internet says also Spider-Man is going to feature everyone, including me.
I got my Christopher Nolan. Folks just gonna rip that shit and download it. So how's the Mandalorian making all that money?
The same way Netflix does. So speaking of Mandalorian, this is the season, the prelude to the season finale. This one involved a lot of hijinks, but before we go into it, we got to get everybody's impressions.
The episode's called The Believer, by the way.
They didn't believe that much in this episode. Christian, how did you feel about this episode?
It was dry as fuck.
Okay, so you telling me Ben Shapiro won't get nothing done. Cut that part out.
No, Ben Shapiro need to hear about himself. This JoJo's American Dad.
Sid, how you feel about this?
Might shock you, but I actually liked this episode. Really liked it.
Okay, is that ironically?
No.
Okay, you know what? Okay, cool. How about you, John?
Anyway, I thought it was a good filler episode because you know.
Damn, filler.
To be fair, it was filler to me.
It was a good filler episode. I think they like to give us one episode a season where we get to see Pedro Pascal's face. I don't have a problem with that, but they wanted to give us more insight into what's his name, Bill Burr.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Burr.
That's not his name on the show, but we
Mayfield.
I call
Mayweather.
I call him Bill Burr on the TV.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, he's got his team together now, and basically they're looking more into the lives or the dynamic of the stormtroopers, and I did like that aspect of it, and I liked, more insight into Mayfield and why he was no longer part of the Imperial Army anymore, and so I thought it was insightful in a way.
Okay. Question, Boba Fett ship Slave One?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I call it plot convenience.
John, how'd you feel about this episode?
I'm gonna be 200% honest with y'all and the audience. I blanked out up until they got into the cafeteria.
Okay.
It was just that dry for me. He not wrong when he said it was turkey dry. People who don't know how to cook turkey dry. Mm-hmm. The episode tastes like napkins until they got to the cafeteria. I'm gonna be honest with y'all.
I don't know why you eat napkins, but
that's what turkey tastes like.
By the way, 2021 we canceling turkey.
Yeah.
Cancel a lot of stuff in 2021. All right. So with that being said, my first impressions of it, I had mixed reviews about this one. I thought the pacing might have slowed a bit, but I loved several aspects about it. It seemed, and when I go to when it slides to the goods, I'll talk about it more in depth. But there were some things that they played with that I wish the actual main storyline talked about. And when we get to it, I want to get your opinion about this too. Okay. So let's talk about some of the goods of this episode. Anybody want to start off?
So I guess I'll hit to the chase because to me this was. Can I say something before you hit to that chase? Okay. I'll just put a good in there, and this is gonna sound petty and repetitive, but no Jedi lightsaber. Like, we finally get to talk about the war in that title of the franchise that y'all want to whore out to us.
And you know the thing, and you're not wrong.
And I said the episode was dry, but the thing is, like, this is the shit I would rather this than we talk about how Luke Skywalker is so great and he gets all the ladies and all this, and
but that brings up a great point. So the whole point of this episode was Mando and the crew were trying to break into this facility to get information on where the Death Star is.
Death Star?
Sorry, the destroyer that stole.
Moff Gideon ship.
He's on a destroyer. Moff Gideon's ship where he's keeping Grogu, aka Baby Yoda. So the whole plot is to get the plan so that they can figure out where the ship is. Okay. So one of my favorite parts, so there's this whole heist of going in, infiltrating the base, and trying to get this information. That's the whole plot, and then escaping. One of my favorite parts is actually when they get towards the base, because the stormtroopers are humanized. Like, you see them, and they don't look like this evil clandestine unit. They look like regular people. Mm-hmm. They look like factory workers. They look like tradesmen. And I'm sitting there looking like, because when Mando's coming in with the haul, they'll come out and protect him. And I was like, God damn, the cavalry arrived. Mm-hmm. And why do I feel happy about this? Mm-hmm. And then when he came in and they're applauding him in, you see these regular people, I'm like what you said, this is a story that I wish they told. Mm-hmm.
So my good for this is, to me, my biggest good was in that cafeteria. Because, like, I actually started... it wasn't that I wasn't paying attention, but I could have glazed over everything up until they got into the cafeteria, because that to me is when the story actually started, in my opinion. Like, everything else was just, this is just rigmarole so that we can get up in there. But that's when the story had weight. That's when Bill Burr's character finally became a character to me, because he was still, because up until then, as far as I'm concerned, he was still, Mando, me and you are just alike, like we're the same, and then that exactly. So it wasn't until then that the episode got good, and it got real good when it got there.
I want to push back on one little part about that when he was making the comparison of whether him and Lando. And actually drew me in, because I was like, we're basically the same person. We're fighting for a reason. Mm-hmm. It's just that reason is pushed based on what you believed in and what side of the fence that you're forced to be on. It's like, we didn't want to do this, but we had to pick a side.
Yeah, and I'll give him props on that too, when the comment he made where he was like, everybody's got credos and rules and morals and shit until you gotta break them. And he not wrong, because he was like, you gonna take that helmet off.
and it was amazing watching that transition of everything he was saying to Mando go to fruition. But what about you? Any goods?
What I was saying earlier about why he's no longer a stormtrooper is because Mando, he pussied out and he couldn't go into the mess hall because his old commander was there. So Mando had to go in and take off his helmet and just pray to God. Nobody noticed him, but of course somebody noticed him. Mm-hmm. And, he has to play dumb, but Bill Burr comes in to save him, basically. And make sure that they can get out alive.
He kind of did the same thing that he said Mando was gonna do. Like, everybody has their little thing until you pushed up against the wall and you had to break it. You may not have wanted to see old dude because maybe he abused you or molested you in the shower or some bullshit like that. But when push came to shove, you had to confront that dude.
Was there any goods that you want to go in?
I have a number of goods.
Well, one thing, and this goes into the story too, because like I said, it humanized the other side. And he was like, when Bill Burr was talking to the guy, he was like, we were fighting on behalf of the Empire. It was me, like, we were people. We were struggling for your belief. And those were good people down there. Those were people with families and stuff like that. And you decided to lay waste to everybody, whether they were on your side or not. It's like, how could you do that? And then the guy was like, the objective was to win, so we had to win. And he was like, but those were people. They were fighting. They gave everything they had for your cause, and you betrayed them at the drop of a hat. And that was the real emotion that I wish Star Wars would have gave us in the movies. That conflict.
All of the movies.
Thank you.
Because I want to put that out there. Like, we're not gonna go into this thing where we pick on the set of movies that you think should be ridiculed and burned to the ground. No, all the movies fucked up in this aspect.
That's because they all focus on the protagonist.
Except for Rogue One.
Which Rogue One, they focus on the protagonist. You always get the perspective of the heroes in the Star Wars movie.
And this one actually, when he told that story, I was like, it gave conflict. It gave me internal conflict because I was like, you hear this word that the Empire is bad and they're evil and all this stuff, but it's just like at the end of the day, people just trying to survive and being forced to do this on behalf of another medium, and you like, okay, essentially it's people on both sides of the line looking at like, hey, we don't have a choice in this matter. That's why we're fighting.
It's literally just two governments, two countries, two parties butting heads against each other about who is right to rule in this galaxy.
And I'll say this too. I also think that this episode came at an interesting time because it brings up these questions these are questions that people are asking today. Like, how can regular people who believe in the Empire, so to speak, put their lives into this only to have that empire that they believe in so much fuck them over, and then knowing what we know with all the movies involved and all the supplementary material, the Empire in one form or another keeps going. It's just that new people get in charge of it, and then you have new people who believe in that empire. And it's like, and you can look at that in our current U.S. climate.
But it also stated like one. Oh, sorry, Zach.
I was gonna say that this episode not necessarily answered a lot of questions. It did that, but when we did our Star Wars review in totality, this spoke to a lot of things that were my major complaints about Star Wars. The main thing I always asked after we watched that last Star Wars movie was, how did the Empire keep building, keep coming back, keep doing what they're doing, and nobody did anything about it? Mm-hmm. This episode answered that. Mm-hmm. Where was the Republic?
Yeah.
What were they doing? That was my main question.
And they mentioned that.
They kind of mentioned that.
They was like, the galaxy's too big for them to try to police everything. Mm-hmm. But I know people have their odds about Bill Burr, but I think what he represented was like the common man, the working class, and he was like, I gotta put food on my table. I gotta find a way to survive. And everybody wants to talk about like you said, everybody's moral line, but until it's tested, you don't know what you'll do.
So here's my thing about Bill Burr's character. If this had been his first episode, I would be fine with him. But the episode he premiered in my opinion, a very good showing. It was not a good showing, and he wasn't the main problem of that episode. It's just that him and everybody else, the people around him that he had to work with, fucking pedestrian and predictable.
Yeah, I would say the second season has stepped up from the first season because, they introduced the characters in the first season. Mm-hmm. Now we can give them depth in the second season. Mm-hmm. That's what they seem to be doing. So. Overall, like I said, this episode was good for me because I even liked the beginning, as slow as it was. There were moments where Bill Burr was doing all the talking, and it was annoying to me at first, but I was listening to what he was saying. They did the thing where he was alluding to the stuff that's going to happen later on in the episode. Mm-hmm. Especially he was talking about the helmet, he was talking about the morals and lines and all this stuff. That to me, it was kind of dry, kind of slow, but that was just build up until we get to conflict and then until we get to the cafeteria. So they're doing the transport, right? Mm-hmm. And stuff is blowing up, and then we finally figure out why stuff is blowing up. And there's pirates trying to blow up, not pirates, they're trying to blow up the cargo.
They're locals.
They were locals.
And so that put Mando in a precarious position because he has to basically be a stormtrooper. Mm-hmm. He's the baddest stormtrooper there is.
Aim. he had aim and he had hands.
That should have given them away.
Mm-hmm. That's why they were surprised when they came back alive. They were like,
what? We didn't expect you to. Okay. Mm-hmm. Train us, master.
And creepy dude rolling over. I'll buy you a drink.
But here's the thing.
Sorry, what you think?
There was realism to the locals trying to blow up the cargo, and Mando fighting them off, like that was a real struggle for him.
Mm-hmm.
It was one against an army, and I don't know if y'all saw that when he was like, "All right, cool, I beat them," and then like 5 of them pulled up on him.
And he's like,
You saw that.
So like, I'm done right now. I'm through.
So that was good, body acting or whatever it is they call that. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And then that was kind of funny and whatnot. But when we get to the cafeteria, that's where things pick up. And of course, we can jump to Bill Burr's scene where if you look at his face, that looks like real emotion.
That is, yeah.
And just he was just done. He was just like, I know we got a plan. I know we came to do what we came to do, but I got a blast.
Yeah, what I liked about that entire interaction was because he's sitting there listening to, someone whose orders he used to follow, and he's listening to him justify basically murder,
being a piece of shit.
And he's increasingly getting pissed. And he's looking at Mando, and he's got his head down because he's trying not to show people his face, and he's like, you know what? All of you are gonna die. Put your helmet on, I see shit.
It's like, sit down, let me give you you're talking to.
Mando had this look on his face like, please don't embarrass me. and he was like, fuck. And there's one more subtle bit of intensity to that moment. They had that entire conversation, and what drops more feels for me on that is this dude could have that entire conversation and like he didn't even know who he was talking to, because that's just how faithless he sees the people that he sends out to die.
And I'm glad that you brought that up too, because that was another thing that one thing that it represented to me too. It was like the little man standing up to the status quo. It was like, to me, like, you done so much vile stuff that you don't even recognize, like you said, one of the people that you've hurt. And I think that set him over the bar to where he was like, you don't even see me as a person, so now this person, this no name, is going to be the one to send you to your end. So that kind of like the little man rising up over the establishment to finally take what's theirs. And it was a lot of symbolism I saw in that moment, and like everybody said, like we all keep regurgitating, that lunch scene was one of the most powerful scenes in Star Wars.
And he also said something about the officer was like, people want to be controlled, and so we're just the force that's going to come in to deliver that control. And that's a debate in itself, as far as like philosophical debate, as far as like free will versus control and all this stuff, and what forces come in, and whether it's a government force or religion or whatever it is that wants to come in and be that driver of that, your motivation and your order, so to speak. So that was an interesting take. I know they didn't really have time to delve into that, because that would just be, it's the same shit we say about the Jedi. The Jedi weren't right for what they were doing.
The Jedi was going to people's houses and saying, yo, baby special, let me take you.
Or we have superior martial arts training and psychic power, so we're going to be generals in the army.
Like they were literally taking...
Or they were forcing kids to be forever virgins, because that's literally what that is.
But they literally was like, we take him as their babies.
They oh my God.
You cannot give yourself whatever.
Basically, they
one of the rules is you cannot give your emotions or some bullshit like that to another person or whatever. And if I'm fucking it up, I'm sure one of you assholes are gonna be in the comments like, no, the Jedi Creed, I don't care. I don't give a fuck. But you just notice how none of those Jedis have wives or husbands, except for Anakin, and see what happened to him. Because in his opinion, the Jedi are evil. And he's not wrong. But I guess I'm lost after that. What were we talking about again?
And like you said, I thought that was interesting, because if you look at them just taking feelings out of the equation, like the Jedi was taking people when they were kids, so they wouldn't form attachments, and the whole point of the Empire was use people as pieces just to get stuff done. So objectively, they were pretty much, if you take objectively looking out, they were pretty much the same thing going in. But that's all I gotta say about that. My last good is at the end when Mando popped up on Gideon's screen like, I'm coming for that ass. I'm coming for you, boy. I don't care where you run, homie, Holmes, And at one point, he
talking about when he did Space Take.
This is for Rachel.
You don't know who I am, but I have a particular set of skills that I will use to hunt you down.
Leave the baby. All right, let's get to these bads. Who want to go in first?
I'll go first.
Go for it.
So with everything we talked about in regards to the whole cafeteria scene and how it more or less sheds a humanizing light on the stormtroopers and shit like that, like this sharply contrasts with a couple of episodes ago.
That was my bad.
When they was chasing down Carl Weathers and the stormtroopers is being silly and shit, and I'm like, you can't have that and then make us look at the stormtroopers like this and whatnot. Like that's a complete tonal shift. Jerk.
Well,
No,
my thing is
still showing, you know,
Stormtroopers were still pretty terrible.
personality
So
the reason why I let that play is because that's to the director's interpretation. Carl Weathers wanted that scene, and who did that last one? Rodriguez?
talking about the one last?
Yeah,
Rodriguez.
Robert Rodriguez wanted the silly tone with it. That's why the only reason I give that a pass, because there's some of the directors and the way they wanted to frame that. But I see what you're saying.
So for me, I didn't know if it should be a bad. I just know I felt some type of way about it because it was like, because even outside of the Mandalorian, I think we can all say that in general pop culture, the stormtroopers are kind of seen as a joke.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then you do this tonal shift, and even within the show, we had them be seen as kind of, humorous. And then you do this tonal shift, and it was like, I like what you did, but I feel some type of way about the fact that, like, I like the content, but I feel some type of way about the fact that you did it when we've only seen them as one way up until now.
I'll put it like this. I think stormtroopers have been consistent this entire series. Because you gotta realize that the only ones who really get personality are if you really sit down and talk to them. Like this episode, that was an officer. Mm-hmm. That wasn't a stormtrooper. Officers have more pull, they get more duties. They do more stuff. Mm-hmm. They get more personality, more shine. Stormtroopers are just people in helmets that get shot and do silly shit. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they're the putties.
But see, here's my thing though. Like,
granted, Finn was supposed to be our representation of a stormtrooper, the day in the life of a stormtrooper, a kid who was snatched up and put into an army, and you did whatever job they told you to do, or they felt like you were fit for. He was supposed to be our inside view of what stormtroopers' lives were, but we know how that went.
So my issue with that is like, what pop culture is basically telling us versus what this episode tells us, and basically pop culture is saying that these people who are actual people with lives and shit like that, because this episode told us that they have problems and shit like that their lives don't really matter because we can just use them for comedic cannon fodder.
Well, I mean, that's in the grand scheme of Star Wars, that's really what they're trying to tell you also, is that an Imperial officer can command a stormtrooper to do whatever he wants them to do, because their lives are worthless, because we can just snatch up some more kids on another planet and just make more.
Fair enough. I could do without the silly sound effects though.
So other bads.
That's just paying homage to the original Star Wars.
So other bads of this episode. Anybody?
I'll say it. I said it before, but like I said, up until the cafeteria scene, it was dry as hell for me. Like, and when I say dry as hell, it's like I took in information, but I was really just on my phone.
So.
Like, I was just on my phone.
I'm gonna say something else too. Look, for whatever reason, society, I'll put it like that, likes this Boba Fett character. He did nothing to him. Which is consistent with the shit that he does in the movie. So if you're gonna tell me that he is a badass, or if you're gonna force me to watch this character, he need to be doing everything.
No, but the whole point of this episode was that, it's building up because they're only giving us, 8 episodes this season?
Mm-hmm.
So no.
I don't give a shit.
No, but you're counting it as a bad, but there is a reason for this. It's a filler episode. It's building the momentum. It's building the momentum to, the big fight.
So I'm gonna tell you why it's a filler episode. They wasting all that. Let's get the plans. No, you go up in there blasting.
Where? They needed to know where.
Everywhere.
There was only 6 of them.
It was 6 of them?
1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 5.
I'll say this too. Another part that kind of irked me is, and this is kind of a irksome thing of the show that I'm hoping season 3 changes. The whole thing where we're forcing the Mandalorian to do a task. This was almost like fourth wall breaking this time around because they was like, so we gotta go in, and Bill Burr was like, I'm going in solo, and they was like, we don't want you to go in solo.
No, he was like, he doesn't want to go in solo, and he's like, I'm not going in solo. Someone needs to come. But everybody else
was like, well, I'm wanted by the police. And I'm like, man, what the fuck are y'all here for?
I got
Mandalorian was sitting there like, don't pay me, don't pay me.
like seriously. And both of them was like, well, I was only here to look cool in that one. I can't do it.
No.
All of their faces would have popped up except
Jesus.
for the commandos.
There's a reason why the other 3 couldn't go in because they said, one, if they got scanned, they would have been recognized.
That's real fucking convenient. And that's the point we're trying to get across.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Like all these.
Okay. So the point of the episode was for the Mandalorian to grow a little bit, and come to that crossroad where he has to
he couldn't
challenge.
Exactly.
He had to challenge his beliefs.
That's the purpose of the episode.
Every episode.
Because I think Ming-Na's character needs character development. You can fit her in there.
Because they
got priors. Because Ming-Na couldn't be sniping, and then she'd be like, so what's up with the helmet?
If he didn't grow in this episode, he grew in another one. You would have said, "Why he growing in this?" Come on,
I'm just saying.
Because every episode, every Mandalorian rolls up on him. What's the creed? You know Creed?
Recognize the Mandalorian. No, but that is the whole theme of the Mandalorian. It's like I have this way of living, and I've been indoctrinated in, and I have been shown that there are circumstances in which the way can't flow.
That's not what I'm mad at.
That's any TV show.
Okay, my bad for the episode was actually towards the end. And I get that there's the whole thing with happy endings, but I think it would have actually put a more permanent cap on the episode if Bill Burr's character actually would have went back to jail.
No, it happened the way it was supposed to.
Well,
he grew.
Well, no, and I get
grew as a character.
But
he did.
That's fine, but if a mass murderer grows in one episode, they still got to go back to jail.
Okay.
No,
no. I got it. Please let me take it. How many bodies the rest of them got, and what make them special?
See, but
how many bodies Gina Carano got?
But that's the whole point. It depends on what side you're fighting on. The winner.
Oh, okay.
The winner dictates.
Okay, and the winner said he can go free.
That wasn't a winner. That was just some.
They got out alive. They won.
The winner said you can have your freedom.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, the marshal did make the rules.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just said it would have made a more realistic point.
He said the point would have come more home that it's like, okay, even though I did some messed up stuff in my life, I chose that. Even though I found a path to redemption, realistically speaking, I would still be condemned.
So
maybe shave some years off.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like it went the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the ending of the episode. My main bad was that because I knew that what they were alluding to, Mando, eventually taking off his helmet in this episode, but this whole time I was like, bro, shut up. He's not taking it off. Like, can you shut up, please?
Don't take that helmet off. I want to see your pretty eyes.
And then when he takes off, they call him Browner.
I gotta gotta say this was the Magic Mike episode. He was like, I don't want to take it off.
Do I have to? You want to fake Grogu, don't you?
First of all, Mandalorian is for all sexes.
He took that helmet off, and a lot of y'all just defiled yourself.
The flower is wilted.
That was a Star Wars money shot.
Like I said, Pedro Pascal, he appeals to a certain demographic.
Exactly. He's in one great franchise this year.
And thank you guys for joining us for this episode of The Mandalorian. Please join us next week when we take on the task of the season finale. Will it be everything that we hoped for? Will it be everything that we dreamed of? I don't know, but we can all agree that this is the best Star Wars that we've got.
Boba Fett get out of the fucking car.
Wait, aren't they doing an Ahsoka series?
Yeah, that is.
Oh yeah, everybody getting a show. I got a show.
Do you?
Yeah,
What are
Disney.
you doing?
I'm gonna be in space.
I'm just floating. I'm everybody number one.
I'll be doing this.
It's gonna be a 3-series special. It's gonna be 90 minutes of his finger in his ass. It's gonna be called Star Wars.
So
Fans.
And every alien that passed by will be like, what that smell like?
So they did put out a poster of Ming-Na's character yesterday, and she was like, "Thank you." I don't know if this was just her saying thank you for the promo.
Death flag? Is that what you saying?
No, it was just like a spot. I don't know if this was a spotlight or they were alluding to her getting her own show.
Ooh, I'm watching it.
But the first comment under there was, "That's it. I've been a Star Wars fan since the 90s. I watched all of the movies. I will not rewatch any of them. I am deleting my Disney Plus account." And people are like, "What?"
Because Asians can't be in space, apparently. That's what his problem
Which I know, you can have 4-legged aliens. You can have, huge, big-eyed green aliens. You have a giant worm, but minorities. That's why I dropped line. You can have space magic, but not the minorities. and, at the end of the show, maybe Boba Fett will die relevant. So, again, thank you guys. Join us next time. But until next week, I guess.
But yeah, he's in one great franchise this year, and that's because he's not on Narcos anymore. He got off Narcos.
Narcos was so good.
Yeah, he was great in Narcos.
I heard Wonder Woman is so
I
terrible.
don't think she knows he's playing the villain in Wonder Woman.
No, he's playing this villain called Cut Me This Check.
I need gas when he thought he could drive to the Mandalorian and actually do some real work.
You don't think Wonder Woman's gonna be good?
They critics tearing that ass up.
This is what they did with the first one, and that was
No,
good.
they love Wonder Woman.
The first one was heralded as a masterpiece.
Exactly.
Even though it failed in the third act horribly. Yeah.
And up until the reviews for this one, everybody was like, this is going to be the first female-led superhero movie to bust $1 billion.
You mean, wait, Captain Marvel bust $1 billion.
Oh, never mind.
I forgot.
This will be the second.
Some people don't acknowledge Captain Marvel.
You know,